G'day guys, today we're going to be running a few little ideas on how to solve a really important problem. You've done all this work to get to the back and you've got an arm around their neck, but we're on the underhook side, okay? It can be a very challenging position to stick the finish and actually get through all the way into your strangle. So we're going to break through a bunch of really quick ideas and we're going to make you guys way better right now. So we get all the way to the underhook side here and we're trying to get around our man's neck. And one of the central problems in this position is that if I'm able to get around Joey's neck here, right, now say I get this deep strangle hand here, okay, we'll look at this in a moment. The big problem is when I try to take this arm out to lock a rear naked choke, his head can drift back and get his head to the floor, rotate inside, and end up losing the man just like this, sucked ass. We need an elaborate way to make sure that whenever I go to his neck, he can't just get his head to the floor. So there's a few ideas, basically a ton of them I've stolen from my time training with Danaher, so we're going to jump in right now. So first of all, a way to get around a partner's neck, okay, a great option here is anytime you can win double cross wrists, which you can think about reaching this arm long and crossing our left foot over our right, just like so. Now here I have a free hand. So you want to think about using the knuckle of your thumb here to dig underneath my man's jaw, just like this, finger crawling all the way underneath the chin. This is a great method, okay, and there's a few ways to think about finishing from here. One is to use a one-hand finish, okay? One-hand finish, I'm going to tuck this hand behind his neck. I'm going to simply think about putting my chin over my own wrist here. I'm going to pull my elbow down through his chest and roll it right behind his elbow. You can get to a pretty strong strangle just with one hand, okay? However, sometimes you can deal with people who are just an absolute brick shithouse, and that's going to be really hard to finish with one hand. Another method we can think about doing, okay, is instead of having his chin down, okay, like say if you put your chin down, now here I have to use that first method, okay? Sometimes the problem you can encounter is he'll take his chin into his other shoulder. So now when I try to dig, there's just this weird massive jaw next to his shoulder. It's very hard to get my hand in here. In these situations, we kink our wrist here. We're gonna come in and do what's called a sawing method. So I'm gonna think about raking his head back and sliding my wrist underneath the chin, and we get to the same position, ready to go to work for our one-hand finish. So when you get to this position, okay, and you've got good control of your man, okay, you've crossed your feet correctly, not like I just did. From here, we can be a piece of shit. If we really want to get under the chin, okay, there's a few things to play here. So one is to think about taking the wrist bone either on the schnoz or under his bottom lip here. Just think about flicking his head up and rolling this through underneath, okay? So you can play back here, you can be a jerk, but sometimes if his chin's really down, he's very disciplined here. You can think about hooking his nose, especially for Jojo with a big nose. Come underneath the jaw and you get into your finish. It's worth mentioning as well that a lot of the time in this position, you can think about just simply reaching your arm around the shoulder, okay? If I'm here, I think about distracting my shoulder as best I can away from my center, coming all the way out and around his head to get to a position like so. Now, if I were to try and finish with this just here, it's gonna be really, really challenging, but we can use a few different methods here to make this position even better. Once I'm here, and I've got either around his neck or around his jaw, okay? Obviously it's better to be underneath his jaw, okay? In this position, a few ways to play, okay? A really good option here is do what's called a gravity drop method, okay? What I want to do is control the knuckle line here. I'm going to look to pull this out and away off his center line, and from here I'm going to simply think about pulling his hand underneath his armpit and sitting up to my left elbow. From here, I'm going to put weight right down on his elbow on the floor here. What this allows me to do is now to take my left hand out, cross my hands over, and his weight is still on his hand. So now from here, as I drop him in, I cross my hands over, punch through, and I get to my full rear naked, just like this. So we're here in this position, and perhaps it's really difficult to lift his arm out, okay? So one thing he can do is punch his arm kind of straighter, and now it can be really hard to pull this in, and it can be a pain in the ass, okay? So when this is happening and I can't pull his hand behind himself, I'm going to keep this hand wrapped deep, okay? Now, this especially works even when he's over the jaw, okay? And what I'm going to do essentially is I'm going to look to take my left hand out, get up to my elbow, and then from here, I'm going to simply think about pulling my left heel in through his inner groin, okay? And looking to like Pez dispenser his head up and over, turning him over, and then from here, I can look to drop my strangle in and get to my finish. So it's pretty traumatic here, okay? But this is actually basically a few of the main ideas that helped me to win my last match at Aiga, where I flattened the guy out and just basically killed him in front of his friends and family. But if you go back and watch this match, you'll see that I use this concept of turning him belly down, because even if I don't finish him belly down, I can roll him back up and then expose the neck in the more traditional way. So when I do the last one, sometimes what'll happen is as I go to turn, he'll turn with me. Understand that as we turn through, if I end on the strangle side, now I can post on this shoulder, okay? So now by being around the neck here and by being on the strangle side, now I've solved the problem, okay? So anytime I can turn him through to get here, I've solved the main problem of being on the strangle side. I can drop my choke in, get to my finish, okay? So understand, when you try to play the gravity drop method, you can pull his arm in, sit him up and get his weight on his elbow, punch a choke in. Then, if he kicks his arm long, you can turn him through belly down, finish there. And if he over-rotates and you end on the strangle side, then you solve your problem in the first place and you're good to go to work with your traditional finish. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you want to see next. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this shorter format, and I'll see you guys in the next one.